Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caesar's Palace for 12 rounds of boxing. In the red corner, from Los Angeles, California, wearing the red trunks with the gold trim, weighing in at 125 pounds, the lightweight champion of the world, Danny Little Red Lopez. Well, Bill, our winners get a home theater receiver. That's right. Experience the full potential of high-definition video with this 72-channel digital home theater receiver from Yamaha. But wait, that's not all. They also get a 5.1-channel surround sound system from Mirage. With 5 palm-sized speakers and a compact subwoofer cube, the MX 5.1 brings you huge immersive sound with Mirage's omnipolar technology. All from the Spiegel catalog, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And they're taking closer order as down the stretch they come. Mr. Hot Stuff has 3 lengths to make up with chocolate candy last. On the rail, take the points behind that gallant son with chocolate candy gaining on the outside. In the lead is Pioneer of the Nile being tackled by chocolate candy. They're neck and neck as they come to the wire. And Pioneer of the Nile holds off chocolate candy and wins the Santa Anita Derby. And now, on your feet, time to greet holder of 14 NBA titles, your home team, your Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3 at 6'8", 5th year out of UCLA, playing forward, Trevor Ariza. Starting at center, number 17 at 7 feet, 4th year out of St. Andrews High School, Andrew Bynum. And at guard, number 24, 6'6", 13th season out of Loyal Marion High School, Kobe Bryant.
Why did the octopus smell so bad?
Why?
Because he had 8 armpits. Now listen. Did AI write that joke? No. But it could have. But you people enjoyed it moderately, at a moderate level. You gave it a tepid round of laughter because it came from a human being. Because you came out to a live show. Because you enjoyed being on Team Human Being. And don't ever lose track of that, ladies and gentlemen. There you go.
Good morning. It's Thursday, Jordan Peterson Thursday, October the 9th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have Varney and Company, motivation, meditation, and Jordan Peterson. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. A little bit of Maria, then Varney and Company.
Welcome back. 30 minutes before the opening bell sounds for Thursday. Let's get some final thoughts here. Dow Industrials fractionally moving, as are all the major averages. Mark Tepper.
Not too shabby. Well, look, given the fact that we're in the middle of a government shutdown and we have no economic data, that makes earnings season even more important for us to look at. And when you look at the airlines today, Delta had a great quarter, up like 7.5% right now. United and American Airlines up over 5% right now. That is a great read on the consumer health, and consumer spending. They're doing very well selling premium seats, doing well in business travel, and they're doing well in international travel, all which argues for a very strong consumer as we enter next year.
I didn't realize that Delta was trading so well after the earnings, and that is a big mover today, and even in the face of delays and issues as a result of the government shutdown.
With air traffic controller issues, even when there wasn't a government shutdown, yes, they're doing incredibly well, and people want to spend on discretionary items like travel.
Yeah, Chris Johnson.
Right, and even despite the consumer confidence that we're seeing how well markets are doing, we're still seeing this rise in frustration with capitalism and a belief that socialism is the way forward, especially among young people. And ultimately, that comes down to the fact that we need a better story to tell. We've been making the arguments about how it's been a disaster in the past economically, it creates human rights disasters. But one of the stories we're not telling is about how socialism is bad for the environment as well. You saw entire lakes disappear in the Soviet Union. You're seeing China as the biggest polluter on Earth right now. Those are the stories that we need to tell to combat against socialism, because young people, they care about their wallets, they care about their economic well-being, but they also care about the environment, and that's a story we need to.
So do they not understand the impact of socialism and why we know socialism has failed in the past?
Well, that's what we need to continue to make those arguments, and I'm not saying we should go away from that, but those arguments are currently losing, and we've got to get more creative and teach history in a new way and teach people that what actually matters here.
Our per capita GDP is 6 times that of China, 40 times that of North Korea. There's no better way to gain wealth than through capitalism.
Yeah, exactly. Great points all around. Great to have you guys this morning. Mark Tepper, Chris Johnson, always a pleasure to be with you both. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great day, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow. Varney and Company picks it up now. Stu, take it away.
Good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. This is a momentous day. Israel and Hamas have signed the first phase of a peace deal. President Trump announced it. Now, according to the schedule, the hostages should be released Monday, and the president is considering flying over there to greet them. It is a diplomatic triumph. After 2 years of war, today there is peace. Will President Trump get the Nobel Peace Prize? He makes no secret that he wants it. Ironically, the Peace Prize will be awarded this weekend. Now, you're going to be hearing a lot about this all day long. This morning, the president holds a cabinet meeting. Expect some comment on the peace deal at that meeting. No obvious impact on the markets from what is a very positive development. Record highs yesterday. This morning, we got little price movement. Not much movement at all. Dow down 1, S&P up 3, NASDAQ down 0.5 point. That's not much movement. The price of gold, though, that is holding at, I think that's a new record high, $4,073 per ounce, up $3 this morning. Bitcoin quoted around, it's off its high. It's at 123.5 this morning, still up there. Interest rates rates, little change. The 10-year coming in at 4.15. The 2-year coming in at 3.60. All right, it is day 9 of the shutdown. No formal talks happening, but there was a face-to-face confrontation between New York Congressman Lawler and House Minority Leader Jeffries. It got heated and personal, and it was about the shutdown. Almost half the staff at the IRS have been furloughed. That has shuttered most of the agency's operations. But the big impact from the shutdown continues to be at the airports. Today, 742 delays, 48 cancellations. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy will be with us at 9:15 this morning, just a few minutes from now. On the show today, everything you need to know about the Gaza peace deal. There are celebrations in Israel, and we are told the Palestinians welcome an end to the fighting. Steve Witkoff says he received a very warm welcome from the Palestinians that he met. The bottom line here is that President Trump has pulled off a diplomatic triumph. Thursday, October the 9th, 2025.
And that was a little bit of Maria and Varney and Company. Nonprofit News Now. Back in a minute. Thank you. So this is Law and Order, and it's a case about where right now the assistant district attorney is making a motion so she can get records unsealed of an individual that has AIDS, that's been to the city health department and been found to have AIDS. Supposedly, he is deliberately going around town, deliberately infecting women. And so they're trying to, quote, get him off the street, unquote.
People v. Rodriguez, the defendant was compelled to undergo an AIDS blood test.
The people are not asking a suspect to take a test. They're asking us to release the test results on a third party.
The issues of privacy are the same.
In Rodriguez, the defendant was charged with sexual assault. The victim moved to determine her attacker's HIV status for her own peace of mind. Ms. Ross seeks to turn Rodriguez on his head.
Your Honor, if we don't get this man off the street, he will infect more women, and we can't get him off the street if we don't know who he is.
There's a larger consideration here, Judge. The need for secrecy to encourage those people who may be infected to get tested, and for those people who are infected to seek treatment. If the DA can force disclosure, people infected with HIV are going to avoid the city health department like the plague.
Ms. Ross, if I order these records unsealed, won't I send the AIDS community a message that confidentiality is out the window?
The people's need for this information is limited. We're not asking for all records to be unsealed, only one order about one individual.
Which is how it starts. If one, why not 2, 10, 100?
Rodriguez presented unprecedented issues in this state. In that case, the suspect had already been arrested. In this case, we're breaking confidentiality to make an arrest. We're in uncharted waters here.
Is there a crime here?
That's what we're trying to determine. That's why we need to talk to him.
Given both the seriousness of the consequences and the urgency of the matter, I'm inclined to lean a little on the side of protecting the health and perhaps the life of those who are in danger of infection over a right that is not a matter of life and death. You got your records unsealed, Counselor. Okay, so there she goes, and she makes a mistake. What the defense counsel failed to say, the man, is that she is asking, the assistant district attorney is asking you to break the law in order for her to go and enforce the law. That's no good. That's contradictory, null and void. And if he had said that, then the judge would have no choice but to say no. But again, she is leaning on the side of government rights over the rights of the individual. Unfortunately, the government has no rights. Only the individual has rights. So this should have been a very easy decision to make. And then Miss Ross should have ended up getting a contempt citation for bringing a specious motion to the court. Back in a minute. Thank you. And more Law and Order, same case.
How does this differ from any other medical communication, Mr. McCoy?
People v. Thomas, People v. Fonseca, People v. Gerhardt, in all those cases, the courts ruled that the state's right to learn if a defendant had AIDS outweighed his right to privacy.
Which is a basic constitutional right.
So there you go. We're in a situation right here in this particular situation where the judge is about to make a ruling based not on the law
and the Constitution, but on who makes the better argument, which attorney makes the better argument. But you heard the assistant district attorney make the argument that the state's right to know outweighs the defendant's right. Problem is, the state has no right. But here we are in a situation where the judge is being asked to do what is called a balancing test. Okay? And balance one right against another. But the one right is a false right. Let's see how he rules.
Those cases, the crime was never in doubt. In this case, you're trashing the principles this country was founded on. Judge, you open this door, where does it end?
Even the Gay Men's Health Crisis Group has reversed its position and come out in favor of doctors reporting HIV positives to the state health department.
I don't care what that group does. The constitutional issue is not to be lightly swept aside. The rules of confidentiality should not have been breached. Therefore, the report on Mr. Stark's condition is suppressed.
Your Honor, I am moving to dismiss. Without evidence of intent, the charges can't be sustained.
We still have Lana Madison's statement about Mr. Stark's threat.
That's hearsay from a witness who could have contracted AIDS from any number of sexual partners.
We have her entire sexual history.
Unless she's forgotten someone, or is protecting someone, or lied.
Right, Miss Paulson. I'm granting your motion to dismiss, but I'm staying the order until what I assume will be Mr. McCoy's speedy appeal to the appellate court. Now, you've got 48 hours to put something together, Mr. McCoy.
Okay, so he made the right decision, not for the right reason, but at least he went ahead and made the right decision. But this kind of thing happens in real life, where judges every day are being asked to engage in a balancing test and weigh one right, the right of the state, the right of the federal government, against the rights of the individual. And that's unsustainable. We cannot have a society in which the law is in doubt, that the law is whatever a judge happens to say it is on any given day, and in which the judge is not going to make a ruling based on the law or on the Constitution, but based on strictly on which attorney makes the better argument. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of motivation.
Life is not easy at all. There's going to be challenges. You're going to get beat down. That's the way life is.
You sort of put a mask on your face and you go home and lay in your bed when no one's looking at you, when you don't have to impress anybody, and you're yourself. And fear comes in. Maybe you don't know for sure what's going to be happening in the future and it scares you. Just that fear paralyzes you. And I just want to ask you today, do you think you have hope?
At some point, everything's going to go south on you. Everything's going to go south and you're going to say, this is it. This is how I end. Now you can either accept that or you can get to work. That's all it is. You just begin. You do the math, you solve one problem, and you solve the next one.
And it doesn't matter how you get knocked down in life, because that's going to happen. All that matters is that you got to get up.
You have to get up.
Whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Sometimes you have to just back up and go within yourself and pray and meditate and recharge your batteries. Go away, clear your head, and then come back and look at it from a different vantage point. Don't operate while you're under the spell or the effect of what's going on. Don't allow your emotions to control you. We are emotional, but you want to begin to discipline your emotion. If you don't discipline and contain your emotions, they will use you. You don't have to force yourself or motivate yourself to think negatively, to be depressed, to beat yourself up over the head, to feel loaded with guilt. You don't have to make any effort to do that. Your mind is on automatic. It will do that by itself. But if you want to begin to move into your own personal greatness, you've got to be willing to go against the tide. You've got to be willing to harness your will and say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back.
You ask for what do you want? Man, I want to be diamond. Tell me something I don't know. Everybody wants it. But the raw reality of it is everybody don't get it. And the crazy thing is, if you want it, you can get it. It's not like somebody is stopping you, holding the gun to your head and telling you you can't get it. It's a matter of will. It's a matter of hard work. It's a matter of sacrifice. It's a matter of dedication. It's a matter of commitment.
The difference is not the genetic code, the potential. It's a guy that's willing to get knocked down, finally tested on fortune, stand back up. The perseverance, the see it through, the never say die attitude.
We know the battle ahead. We know the journey ahead is going to get tough. We know we're going to face obstacles. We know it's going to be some discomfort. We know they're going to try to break us. We know they're coming for us. We know that's going to happen already. So let's make up in our minds before the battle that we're going to be victorious.
Don't cry to give up. Cry to keep going. Don't cry to quit. You already in pain. You already hurt. Get a reward from it. At the end of pain is success. You're not going to die because you're feeling a little pain.
You tell yourself, I won't give up. When that depression hits you, come out of nowhere, you tell yourself, I won't give up.
There's no guarantee that because somebody is now down on their luck, they can never come back. Who can guarantee that you can't make it? That you can't have your dream? Who can guarantee that you can't do what you want to do? No one can do that. No one can predict that. You don't know what the possibilities are for your life.
Because if you're willing to go through all the battling you got to go through to get to where you want to get, who's got the right to stop you? It's your right to listen to your gut. It ain't nobody's right to say no after you earn the right to be where you want to be and do what you want to do.
All we need to do is we look at our dreams as we get ready to hit the floor. I'm blessed and highly favored.
I don't care if you're sick. I don't care what you're going through. If you're not dead, he ain't through with you yet. As long as you waking up, you still in the game. As long as you alive, you can still make it happen. As long as that breath in your nostrils move, you still in the game. You still can win. Now get your butt up.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little meditation.
Welcome to this 5-minute meditation to release anxiety and visualize calm. Find a comfortable position, either sitting or lying down. Gently close your eyes and allow your body to rest. Take a slow, deep breath in. Hold it gently and exhale fully. With each breath, imagine you are letting go of tension, stress, and anxiety. Feel your shoulders soften, your jaw release, your hands relax. Now bring your awareness to your breath. Inhale calm. Exhale worry. Inhale peace. Exhale anxiety. With every breath, you are becoming lighter, calmer, more at ease. Now gently begin to visualize yourself in a peaceful place. It might be a quiet beach, a calm forest, or a safe, warm light surrounding you. See yourself here completely safe, completely free. breath fills you with serenity. Every exhale releases the last traces of anxiety. As you sit in this calm space, repeat softly in your mind, I am calm. I am safe. I am at peace. Let these words sink deeply into your heart. Stay here for a few moments, just breathing, just being, just calm. Now, slowly bring your awareness back to the present moment. Feel the surface beneath you, the air around you. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Carrying this sense of peace and calm into the rest of your day. Thank you for joining this session. See you in the next meditation.
And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, GB News.
Here was the Prime Minister launching digital ID.
Announcing this government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work.
The rule will be that you can't work if you don't have digital ID. And the reason for that is that too many people are working illegally.
You must have ID, mandatory digital ID, in order to work, because we have to stop illegal working.
That is our totally and utterly dishonest Prime Minister at every single level. If you are a foreign worker in Britain, you already have to show a form of digital ID as a foreign worker to your employer on your phone. There is a code you have to apply for, and he, if they're employing you, legally have to ask for it. So we're told that's why we've got to have it. Yet already we have HMRC saying this is wonderful, it'll pave the way for £600 million of tax grab we can take from people. And before you know it, you'll have all your medical records on there. If you're not jabbed, because the government thinks you should be, you'll find yourself genuinely a second-class citizen. I think the whole thing is appalling. I will not be having digital ID. Put me in prison, not a problem. I will.
And that was GB News. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now from the account Geert Wilders.
Kom je stem hier laten horen?
Nou, het is meer gewoon, het wordt gewoon te veel, weet je. Kijk, weet je, ik heb niks tegen buitenlanders, alleen de AZC's wordt gewoon te veel. Het gebeurt gewoon te veel. Kijk, je bent jong, ik ben 17, maar het wordt gewoon te heftig, weet je. Er liggen daar al boten in de haven, het wordt allemaal gewoon te veel, weet je. Ik als er 1 keer langsloop, wordt al aangesproken, wordt daar gefloten, weet je. Staat nergens meer op. Kijk naar die Lisa, hartstikke jong, ook door een AZC'er, weet je. Kijk, ik zeg ook eerlijk, Nederlanders kunnen het ook gedaan hebben, maar je hoort tegenwoordig alleen maar AZC'ers. Het is gewoon vol.
Jij komt ook uit Schiedam, begrijp ik dan?
Ja, tuurlijk, ja.
Het gaat op de Schravenlandse weg, willen ze dat doen? Ja. Hoe voel jij je nu? Word jij serieus genomen door de gemeente, denk je?
Nee, ik hoop nu dat het met veel mensen zijn, want het is drukker dan verwacht. Dus ik hoop gewoon dat we nu gewoon serieus genomen worden en een keer iets aan gedaan gaat worden, toch? Ja.
En vooral voor het woningtekort denk ik dat dat het belangrijkste is, denk ik ook om nu, hè?
Maar sommige mensen staan al een paar jaar in de wacht en krijgen geen huis. En zo iemand die er al een half jaar is, mag er in één keer wel bij. Het staat nergens op.
Succes.
And that was from the account Geert Wilders. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now for my Australian listeners, this is from an account called This Is How Things Work. Legendary former Australian Prime Minister Bob Hawke once broke a world record by drinking 2.5 pints, 1.2 liters, of beer in just 11 seconds. He also achieved the highest approval rating of any Australian Prime Minister, reaching 75% in 1984. There you go for my Australian listeners. G'day, mate. Thank you. Now, Jordan Peterson.
You know, there's a brutal truth we often try to avoid. People hurt you, and sometimes they do it on purpose. Not accidentally, not unknowingly, but with full awareness, with precision. And if you've experienced that kind of betrayal, that kind of targeted cruelty, I want you to understand something very clearly. It wasn't your imagination. It was real, and it was wrong. But the question isn't only why they did it. The deeper question is, what will you do now? Because if you don't confront that pain, if you don't integrate it, it will corrupt you. Let's talk about 4 essential psychological truths you need to internalize when someone hurts you intentionally. You've probably been taught, either explicitly or implicitly, to always give people the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they didn't mean it. Perhaps it was just a misunderstanding. Nobody's perfect. And sure, that's often true. Miscommunication happens. Emotions flare. People make mistakes. But there's a dangerous illusion hiding behind that philosophy if it's applied blindly and universally. Because sometimes it wasn't a misunderstanding. Sometimes they knew exactly what they were doing. They hurt you with precision. They calculated it. And in those moments, it wasn't just carelessness. It was malevolence. And if you refuse to see that, you become complicit in your own victimization. Now, this isn't easy to accept. The idea that someone could deliberately target you, maybe because of your light, your strength, your innocence, your potential, that's a deeply unsettling realization. But pretending it's not real doesn't make it go away. In fact, it makes you more vulnerable. It strips away your ability to defend yourself. And worse, it creates this internal dissonance where you feel the pain, the betrayal, the violation, yet you keep telling yourself, it must be me. I must be misreading this. That's the trap. That's how people stay stuck in abusive cycles. Not because they're weak, but because they've been conditioned to deny evil when they see it. Let's be clear. Evil is real. Not just in the abstract, not just in history books or dark fairy tales, but in everyday modern human interactions. Evil isn't always loud or violent. Often it wears a smile. It flatters, it blends in, it manipulates. Evil doesn't always announce itself with fangs and fire. It operates through quiet envy, subtle control, and cold calculation. It's that friend who constantly undermines you while pretending to care. It's the colleague who sabotages your work behind your back. It's the partner who exploits your kindness and twists your words until you doubt your own sanity. And the problem is, if you were raised to be empathetic, to be agreeable, to always assume good intent, you're especially at risk. Because malevolent people often seek out exactly that kind of person. They know you'll hesitate to judge. They know you'll give chance after chance. They know you'll blame yourself before you ever blame them. And so they push. They test your boundaries little by little until they've trained you to accept the unacceptable. You cannot afford to be blind to this, not if you want to be whole, not if you want to be free. There is a massive psychological cost to excusing what you know is wrong. Every time you downplay the harm, every time you rationalize their behavior, you chip away at your own integrity. Every time you rationalize their behavior, you chip away at your own integrity. You silence your intuition. You become a stranger to yourself. And that is perhaps the greatest damage of all. Not what they did to you, but what you do to yourself in order to cope with it. Recognition is the first step to reclaiming your strength. Not rage, not revenge, recognition. The quiet, honest acknowledgement that someone acted with intent to wound you, that they saw your vulnerability and exploited it, that they observed your trust and chose to break it. And when you face that truth, not in anger, but in clarity, you begin to rebuild the boundary that was violated. This is not a call to hate. It's a call to see clearly. There's a difference between judgment and discernment. Judgment condemns. Discernment protects. And you need protection. You need internal rules about what kind of behavior you will no longer tolerate, about what signs to watch for, about when to walk away without apology. That requires clarity. It requires emotional courage. It requires the willingness to call malevolence what it is, even when it's coming from someone you once loved, respected, or trusted. It also means letting go of some comforting illusions. The illusion that all people are basically good. The illusion that if you're kind enough, patient enough, loving enough, you can change someone's heart. The illusion that morality is just a matter of misunderstanding. These are lies we tell ourselves to avoid the pain of reality, but they're lies that cost us dearly. When you start recognizing malevolence, when you allow yourself to see it plainly, you don't become bitter, you become wise. You stop walking blindly into traps. You stop negotiating with manipulators. You stop making excuses for behavior that leaves you depleted and ashamed. You gain moral clarity, and that clarity doesn't make you hard-hearted. In fact, it makes your kindness more powerful because it is no longer naive. It is no longer blind. It is no longer available to those who would weaponize it. Some people in this world will try to harm you. That's the truth. They may do it with words, with silence, with charm, with guilt, with aggression, or with indifference. But if you refuse to acknowledge that fact, you leave yourself open to being hurt again and again. Not because you deserved it, but because you denied it. So the next time you find yourself rationalizing the behavior of someone who consistently harms you, pause, listen to your discomfort, honor your instincts, and say to yourself, maybe this isn't a misunderstanding. Maybe this is exactly what it looks like. Because when you begin to see clearly, you begin to live freely. One of the most underestimated emotional forces in the human psyche is resentment. It's not loud, not always visible, and rarely declared openly, but is devastatingly powerful. Resentment is what builds when someone feels wronged, overlooked, or insufficient. And instead of confronting those feelings honestly, they let them fester. They feed them with excuses and self-deception until it turns into something darker, something destructive. When someone resents you, it might not be because you did something wrong. In fact, it's often the opposite. It's because you did something right. Maybe you worked hard. Maybe you stayed true to your values. Maybe you succeeded. Maybe you had the courage to speak up or step forward while they stood still. And that comparison between who you are and who they are pretending to be can be unbearable to someone who refuses to take responsibility for their own stagnation. That's when resentment begins to take shape. People don't like feeling inferior. They don't like being reminded of their unfulfilled potential, their broken promises to themselves, their unchosen discipline. And when you, by simply existing as you are, act as a mirror to those inadequacies, they begin to feel exposed. Not because you're trying to hurt them, but because you represent something they've abandoned in themselves. Your presence challenges their excuses. It threatens their narrative. And that creates tension, internal tension they don't know how to resolve honestly. So they turn it outward. They project it. They start looking for flaws in you, exaggerating your missteps, minimizing your strengths. They make subtle comments, sarcastic jabs, or backhanded compliments. They smile when you fail. They dismiss your achievements, all because, in their mind, your success or integrity somehow makes them look smaller. And instead of using that discomfort as fuel for self-improvement, they weaponize it against you. This is the pathology of resentment. It turns someone's personal dissatisfaction into an external crusade. It's no longer about their own failures. It's about punishing those who remind them of what they could have been. That's why resentment's so dangerous. It's not just a feeling. It's a seed of destruction, and it grows in silence. It hides behind fake smiles, polite greetings, and empty praise. But eventually, if left unaddressed, it turns into sabotage, emotional, social, or even spiritual.
The real reason Korean women are so skinny and how Hollywood celebs secretly are using it.
Emotional, social, or even spiritual. You need to understand this, not to fear others, but to protect yourself, to be aware of the psychological mechanisms at play, to recognize that not every cruel act comes from a place of randomness or confusion. Some of it is calculated, some of it is strategic, and often it's driven by resentment, by a deep, burning belief that you don't deserve what you have, or worse, that they deserve it more. But here's the irony. The very people who resent you the most are often the ones who secretly admire what you represent. They want what you have, your peace, your confidence, your discipline, but they don't want to do the work. And that disconnect becomes intolerable. So instead of climbing, they pull. Instead of rising, they drag others down. Because if they can't have it, they'll make sure you don't enjoy it either. This isn't new. It's ancient. Cain killed Abel, not because Abel wronged him, but because Abel's offering was accepted and his wasn't. Instead of asking, what can I do better? Cain asked, how can I eliminate the person who makes me feel like a failure? That's resentment. It doesn't seek truth or improvement. It seeks vengeance. And it masks that vengeance in self-pity and moral superiority. Now, what do you do with this knowledge? First, you stop personalizing every act of aggression or coldness. You stop thinking, what did I do to deserve this? Sometimes the answer is, you succeeded. You stayed honest. You didn't fold. You refused to betray yourself. That's what you did, and that's exactly what triggered someone else's bitterness. Their resentment is not your responsibility, but your awareness of it is. Second, you don't try to fix people who are operating from that place of envy. That's a mistake too many empathetic people make. You think if I just explain myself, if I just show them I care, they'll stop hating me. But resentment isn't logical. It doesn't care about your kindness. It feeds on it. The more you explain, the more they twist your words. The more you reach out, the more they see it as weakness. Your job is not to heal everyone who resents you. Your job is to recognize who's at war with you in their mind and step away from the battlefield. And third, you must examine your own heart, because resentment is not just something that happens to you. It's something that can grow inside you too, quietly, insidiously, every time you avoid responsibility. Every time you blame others for your pain, every time you look at someone else's success with bitterness instead of curiosity, you plant the seed. And if you're not careful, you'll become the very person you're trying to protect yourself from. Resentment is a signal, one that tells us where we're lying to ourselves, where we've given up on our potential. If we confront it honestly, it can be transformed into ambition, into courage, into change. But if we feed it in secret, it metastasizes into hatred. And hatred always seeks a target. Don't let that target be you. Don't become the target for someone else's self-hatred disguised as righteousness. And more importantly, don't allow your pain to transform into resentment. Either face it, name it, and rise above it, because destruction is easy. But rising is the real rebellion. One of the most difficult lessons for many people to learn is that setting boundaries is not only necessary, it is an act of self-respect. And yet so many of us struggle with it. We feel guilty when we say no. We hesitate to protect ourselves because we fear being perceived as harsh, selfish, or unkind. We worry that if we assert our limits, others will think we're cruel. But here's the truth you must grasp. Self-respect is not cruelty. In fact, it is impossible to truly respect others if you do not first respect yourself. When you don't set boundaries, you essentially tell the world that your needs, your feelings, your well-being are negotiable, that your value is contingent on others' approval or acceptance. And what happens then? You become vulnerable to exploitation, manipulation, and even abuse. People, consciously or unconsciously, sense that lack of limits and push harder. They test how much you will tolerate, how much you will sacrifice. Because when there are no clear boundaries, chaos creeps in. Your world becomes unstable. You lose control over your life and your emotions. This happens because boundaries function like walls in a house. They delineate what belongs to you and what doesn't. They protect your space so that you can function effectively, peacefully, and with integrity. Without those walls, the wind blows through, the rain seeps in, and the structure crumbles. You become overwhelmed. Your resources, mental, emotional, physical, are drained, and eventually your health suffers, your spirit suffers. The real challenge, however, is internal. It's the battle against guilt. The voice inside you that says, if I say no, I'll hurt their feelings. If I demand respect, I'll be seen as selfish. If I protect myself, I'll be cruel. That voice is rooted in a misguided belief that your value depends entirely on pleasing others. It's the belief that kindness means sacrificing your well-being. But kindness without boundaries is not kindness, it's self-neglect. And that self-neglect is a seed for bitterness and resentment. You must understand that when you set a boundary, you're not rejecting the person. You're rejecting the behavior. You're not saying they are bad or unworthy. Rejecting the behavior. You're not saying they are bad or unworthy. You're saying their actions have consequences and you will not tolerate violation. That distinction is critical. People who truly care about you will respect your boundaries because they respect you. And if they don't, that reveals much about their character, not yours. Many people confuse being compassionate with being accommodating. They think to be good-hearted is to say yes even when it hurts. But real compassion, both for yourself and others, requires courage. Courage to say what is true. Courage to stand firm in your values. Courage to face the discomfort that might come from disappointing someone else. And yes, sometimes that discomfort will happen. People might be upset. They might accuse you of being cruel. But here's the thing. You cannot control their reaction. You can only control your actions. Setting boundaries without guilt means reclaiming your right to emotional sovereignty. It means recognizing that you are not responsible for how others feel in response to your limits. You are responsible for your own integrity. That integrity requires you to say no to things that harm you, whether that's toxic relationships, unreasonable demands, or emotional manipulation. Saying no is an act of honesty. It's an act of self-preservation. It's an act of maturity. This does not mean you should be cold or dismissive. On the contrary, boundaries are best set with clarity, kindness, and consistency. Explain your limits without apology, but with empathy. For example, I care about you, but I cannot stay late tonight because I need to rest. Or, I value our friendship, but I won't tolerate being spoken to disrespectfully. These are not cruelty. They are acts of respect, both for yourself and for the relationship. When you allow guilt to dictate your boundaries, you weaken your position. You send mixed messages. You invite confusion and resentment, both from others and within yourself. You might comply outwardly, but feel bitterness inside. That internal conflict festers. It drains your energy and clouds your judgment. So the key is to separate your sense of duty or obligation from your sense of self-worth. They are not the same. You don't earn value by sacrificing yourself. You demonstrate value by honoring yourself. There's a paradox here worth emphasizing. By protecting yourself, you actually improve your capacity to be genuinely generous and loving. When you're drained, overwhelmed, or disrespected, your ability to care for others diminishes. Boundaries recharge you. They allow you to show up fully, not as a depleted version of yourself, but as your best self. And that, ironically, benefits everyone around you. Remember, too, that boundary setting is a skill, one that requires practice and patience. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. You might second-guess yourself or face pushback. But the discomfort is temporary. The peace and strength that come from clear limits are lasting. You teach others how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you tolerate violation, that's what you'll get. If you tolerate disrespect, that's what you'll receive. So start small if you need to. Say no to a minor request that drains you. Withdraw from a conversation that turns toxic. Politely decline an invitation that doesn't serve you. Each small boundary reinforces your sense of control and self-respect. Over time, you build a framework for healthy relationships and emotional resilience. Ultimately, self-respect is not cruelty. It is the foundation of a meaningful life. It is the recognition that you are worthy of dignity, peace, and love, and that setting boundaries is the courageous act that preserves all of that. So refuse to apologize for protecting your soul. Refuse to sacrifice your well-being for the comfort of others. Be firm, be clear, be kind, and watch how your life transforms when you treat yourself as someone truly worth protecting. Pain is one of the most profound and unavoidable experiences in human life. It hits us in moments we least expect, often blindsiding us with its intensity and depth. Whether it's betrayal, loss, failure, or heartbreak, the wound leaves a scar, sometimes visible, often invisible, but always meaningful. The question is, what do you do with that pain? Do you let it consume you, bury you in bitterness and despair, or do you transform it into wisdom, a source of strength, a tool for growth? The choice you make defines your trajectory. Too often, people view pain as something purely negative, something to avoid or numb. But pain is a messenger. It's nature's way of forcing you to pay attention, to adjust your course, to learn something vital about yourself and the world. Without it, you might keep walking blindly into harm, repeating the same mistakes. Pain stops you. It forces you to confront reality. And that confrontation is the first step toward transformation. Think of the wound as a teacher. It's harsh, yes, but it offers lessons no book or lecture ever could. It demands you look inward, assess your own role in the suffering, and recognize what needs to change. It forces humility, the recognition that you are imperfect, vulnerable, and fallible. And with humility comes responsibility. The responsibility to pick yourself up, to integrate the lesson, and to move forward more wisely. This is not easy. In fact, it's one of the most difficult things you will ever do. It requires courage to face your pain honestly. It requires patience to sit with discomfort without rushing to escape. And it requires discipline to not let bitterness take root. Bitterness is the poison that transforms pain into stagnation. It's the emotional equivalent of a wound that won't heal. When you allow bitterness to grow, you become stuck in the past, in resentment and in victimhood. Transforming the wound into wisdom means you take ownership of your story. You acknowledge what happened without denying it or diminishing its impact. You allow yourself to grieve, but refuse to let grief become an endless prison. You analyze what the experience reveals about your boundaries, your values, your needs. You ask hard questions. Where did I go wrong? Where did I allow others to overstep? What can I do differently next time? And importantly, how can this pain make me a better, stronger person? This process turns suffering into meaning. Viktor Frankl, a psychologist and Holocaust survivor, famously said that when we cannot change our circumstances, we are challenged to change ourselves. Pain can be the crucible in which character is forged. When you find meaning in your suffering, you reclaim your power. You refuse to be defined solely by what was done to you, and instead, define yourself by how you respond. There's also a humility in recognizing that Pain is universal. Everyone suffers. Everyone has been wounded. That shared experience connects us. It makes you more compassionate, not just to others, but to yourself. Instead of beating yourself up for being hurt, you treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend in pain. That kindness is the soil where wisdom grows. Transforming pain into wisdom is not a linear path. It's messy. You'll have days when the hurt feels fresh, when the wound seems to reopen. That's natural. Healing is not about forgetting or pretending it didn't happen. It's about learning to carry the scar with grace. It's about integrating the experience so that it informs your future decisions without controlling your present moment. One way to do this is through reflection and articulation. Write about your pain. Talk to someone you trust.
Thank you.
Find a way to express what you're feeling so it doesn't fester inside you. Expression externalizes the internal chaos and gives you clarity. It's a step toward transforming confusion into insight. Another essential part of this transformation is forgiveness. Not necessarily the forgiveness of those who hurt you, though that can be powerful if you're ready, but forgiveness of yourself. Forgive yourself for mistakes, for vulnerabilities, for any role you might have played in the painful situation. Self-forgiveness is crucial because it frees you from the self-imposed chains of guilt and shame. When you forgive yourself, you create space to grow. You also have to be careful not to confuse transforming pain with suppressing it or prematurely moving on. Sometimes culture encourages people to get over pain quickly, to just be positive, to move on. But ignoring the wound doesn't heal it. It buries it deeper. Real transformation happens when you lean into the discomfort long enough to extract the lesson. When you do this work, the wound becomes a source of strength. It teaches resilience, the ability to endure hardship and come out stronger. It builds wisdom, the capacity to see beyond the immediate pain to the broader picture. It cultivates empathy, the understanding that suffering is a part of life and that everyone carries unseen burdens. Most importantly, it empowers you to create a better future. With each wound, you transform into wisdom. You gain clarity about who you are and what you stand for. You develop a stronger moral compass and a sharper sense of purpose. You learn to set better boundaries, to choose healthier relationships, and to pursue goals that align with your values. The wound, once a source of pain, becomes a cornerstone of your identity. This transformation is ultimately a choice. Life will hand you wounds, some small, some devastating, but how you respond is within your control. Will you let the pain harden you? Will you let it poison your spirit? Or will you use it as a stepping stone toward greater understanding, strength, and compassion? The answer is yours. But if you want to live a meaningful life, you cannot let the pain go to waste. You must transform the wound into wisdom. Because that is the path from victimhood to mastery, from suffering to growth, from brokenness. So yes, they hurt you intentionally. They wanted to diminish you. But if you confront that reality with honesty and courage, if you recognize the malevolence, guard your value, and rebuild yourself stronger, they don't win. You do. Not by becoming like them, but by becoming someone they could never bring.
And that was Jordan Peterson. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that greed is not conservative.